Are you one of those that tend to overthink everything in life? Maybe especially in your sport? Am I good enough? Am I going to achieve my goals? Am I doing the right things? Do I have the right coach? I remember when I was a young athlete, a young tennis player, I used to overthink things quite often. And it definitely had a negative impact on my performance. Why this is the case and what you can do in case you are an overthinker is the topic of today's video. And at the end of today's video, you know exactly what you can do with a very, very simple exercise to stop overthinking in the future. So stay tuned till the end. So let's get started. The negative thing about being an overthinker or thinking too much is simply said, you're either in the past or in the future with your mind. And that means you cannot peak perform, because the only time when we can achieve peak performance is in the present. So that's right in between the past and the future. And usually when we are in thoughts, we are always either in the past or in the future. So imagine yourself, maybe you've experienced this also in the past, imagine yourself being in an important game, match or competition, and your brain is simply monkey mind. So you're doubting yourself, you're thinking of a bad experience, a negative experience from the past, or you're thinking of a possible, and that of course will always trigger some negative thoughts, some negative emotions, and will cause stress in our body. Then we get tight and we are not relaxed anymore. That has the consequence that we won't get into the flow state. So the flow state is when we are actually in the zone. So we don't have to think about anything. We are not bothered about anything. We can simply do what we do with a very, very high quality. So that means we need to shift the focus from the mind to the body, to the senses, to the sensations. You can try it out in training. Try to do a movement in your sport and focus completely on what you need to do. So for example, in tennis, I have the racket in my hand, and then I take the racket back on my forehand and I do the swing and I let the racket head down, and then I go through and have like a window wiper, the movement. So but that's everything in the mind. Try this out and see what the quality of your balls are, of your strokes. And then in the next step, do something completely different. Focus on your senses and just feel into your body. What does it feel like when you do it properly? And tell yourself in your mind, top. Tell yourself top. Every time you do it properly, you do it the way it should feel like, and you hit the ball in the sweet spot. You can hear that straight away and you know exactly, whoa, that was a good one. And you also, with your eyes, you see the outcome. So you see the way the ball flies in the air, where it lands, if you have enough depth and length. So you shift your focus from the mind to the senses, to the sensations. Try this out and then compare the outcome. When you do it properly, the outcome will always be better when you shift the mind to the senses, simply because you are not thinking. You're right in the present. So you're not in the past, you're not in the future, you're in the present, and that's where we can achieve a peak performance, and that's where we get into this flow state. Another thing you should consider if you want to stop overthinking is concentrate on the process instead of the outcome. I mean, it's fine if you set some high goals for yourself, for example, for the next season. But if you stick to this goal all the time and you have it on your mind every day and also during training and your competitions, what do you think is going to happen? Exactly. You won't be in the flow state. You will be in the past or in the future again. And especially in this case, probably most of the times in the future. And this will also cause stress within your mind, within your body. Instead, you set your goals, that's fine, and then let them go, and then concentrate, focus on the process. And the process actually is nothing else than, for example, you're in the training right now, that you focus on your strokes, that you focus on your movements. With, as we said before, focus on your sensations, on the senses, instead of just cognitive solutions. So I need to do this, and then I have to move like that, and I mustn't do this, and I should do it like that. Because then you're trying to force it again. Every time we want to do something, really well, we do this with our mind. And then usually we get stressed out, and we are not relaxed in our body, and then we cannot perform on a high level. It'll be average. So focus on the process. Tell yourself during training as often as you can, okay, focus on the sensations, focus on the senses. And then once maybe your focus shifts away to the mind, never mind, just let the thoughts or whatever, or the negative emotions, let them go like clouds in the air, and then shift your focus back to the senses, to the sensations. And by doing this, you will manage to get into the flow state more and more often. And that's gonna have a huge impact on the way you improve, on the speed you improve, on the level you improve. And then of course, when you can do this in training regularly, you can also do this during competition. And then you're gonna get into the zone, and you're gonna be on a very high level in your performance. Try it out. Let me know in the comment section how it worked out, and if you have any further questions, feel free to get in touch with me via the TidyCal link in the video description below. Another thing you should do if you want to stop overthinking is consider failures as feedback and as learning opportunities. There's nothing bad about failures. It's just the opposite actually, because when you produce failures, it just shows you where you can still improve, where you have room for improvement. And that's a completely different perspective. Instead of criticizing yourself for making mistakes and failures. Failures can be incredibly valuable if we have the right perspective. So next time you make mistakes or failures in your training, during your game or your competition, reflect on them, write them down, and then learn from them. What did I do really well in the last game or match or competition? And what is it that I could have done better and I want to do differently next time? And this will have a huge and very positive impact on your whole mindset, because you tell yourself, well, you know, failures are simply feedback. It's nothing that I have to take personally, or doesn't mean that I'm a bad person or I'm not worth it. It's just the opposite. It just shows you that you have still some room for improvement. And when you do it like that, then you really think like a pro athlete and a high performer. High performers never blame themselves for making failures. They only blame themselves if they do failures several times. And here comes, as I promised, the bonus tip, the exercise, so that you can stop overthinking in the future. And it's really simple. All you have to do is use the belly breathing. All you have to do is do the belly breathing regularly, especially when you are in a sport where you have some gaps, some breaks in between, like for example in basketball or in handball or in ice hockey or in tennis or in golf. You always have these smaller and bigger gaps and breaks in between. Breathe as much, as often as you can, consciously in your belly. This will have some very positive effects on you and your mindset and your body. So all you have to do, breathe through the nose, inhale through the nose, pump your belly up like a balloon, and exhale through the nose again and let the air out of your belly. By doing this as often as you can in between, and even if it's just one breath or two breaths, this will over the long term have a very positive effect and will relax you and it will also calm your mind and your emotions. And at the same time, you will also recover faster from exhaustion and tiredness, maybe from previous actions, maybe some long rallies or some very exhausting moments in your match where you had to focus and concentrate heavily. I mean, let's just have a look statistically at a tennis match. We can say when a tennis match lasts 60 minutes, the net time, so the actual time that you are really hitting balls, playing rallies, is roughly about 15 minutes. So it's 25%. And the rest, the 75% of a match, we have so much time actually to kill our performance by creating some negative thoughts or having a negative mindset or just breathing the wrong way. And that's why we are actually obliged to focus especially on these breaks. So the 75%, the small breaks during the rallies and during changeover. So from now on, I would highly suggest you use the gaps in between. Whenever you have the chance, focus on your breathing. Breathe through the nose into your belly, pump it up, and then exhale through the nose again and let the air out of your belly. Do this as much as you can and then see what happens. Because the great thing about this is we can't breathe and focus on the breath and at the same time think of anything. You can only do either the one or the other, but not both simultaneously. And this will have a very positive impact on your mindset. So you won't have any chance to overthink things, yourself, your performance, but instead you're gonna get into the flow state. In case you found this video helpful, please hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and if you want to know how you can win more in the future, check out this video up here.